if you're new here, of course, hit that follow button. But I want to, before we get into Valor and Victory, and that's what we're going to be playing, the Stalingrad DLC, I want to let everyone know, because I know we are getting a lot of new people here that are showing up on Slithering TV, that you can earn free games. If you look in the upper right corner, talks about some of it, but on the screen there. So you just simply be logged in, watch games, you earn Sliths. It's a Slithering coinage, and you can redeem them for free games and DLCs. You can scroll down to find some more details about how to redeem them. So it's perfectly free. Add to your catalog of fun games to play. Just want to let everybody know about that here on Slithering TV. Good reason to watch. All right, we're going to play the Vertyachi Bridgehead. I'm probably butchering that. Don't know if I've ever really heard of it. Okay, as part of Case Blue, the advance to Stalingrad. Oh, it didn't give us to talk about this. You know what? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go exit this. Yes, not the game, just here, because I wanted to go over the details with you. Okay. Attacker Axis, Defender Allied, 6 turns as per usual, starting as the Axis. Attacker must control 2 objective hexes at the end of the last turn to win. Okay, so and this is in the Don Ben spearheads of Case Blue. The Great German Summer Offensive in the east in 1942 has just crossed the east bend of the Don River. This is the last natural obstacle before the final approach of the city of Stalingrad. Having crossed the river on pontoons, leading elements of the 16th Panzer Division, including elements of the 3rd Battalion Schützen Regiment 64 and Panzer Regiment 2, now seek to break out from the bridgehead. They are resisted by remnant scraps from battered and exhausted Soviet 78th Infantry Division and the 1,257th Aircraft Regiment. Okay, a unit comprised largely of young female reservists. Interesting about that. Okay, now I will say I have also yesterday, and I just went live a little while ago on my YouTube channel, been playing We Go Stalingrad. So I've been sort of immersed somewhat in Stalingrad recently. It's at a higher, this is at a very tactical level. That's at a more operational level of the game. Right, so like we say, we start out with the Axis Tourney. Command phase. Well, I have played the first 3 turns once through on this, but I've not played all the way through. And as we know, the die rolls is everything here. Yeah, very easy to burn all your time. Just, yep, you're absolutely right, Sergeant Z-Dog. That is one of my failings, shall we say, of trying to be methodical when we don't have time on this. So this is the key button to understand. Well, probably for starting out is to see where the enemy can see. To keep that in mind. So this guy can see there. He can just see into the trees. He can see along here. We have some half tracks up here on the front. Yeah, very cruel mistress. Does make for playability, replayability a lot on this. So, okay, so we are sort of being spotted from here and here. Okay, so I just want to, now this is where their mortars are. We have no supporting elements. Okay, they can see there. These guys way back here can see up to here. So we need to watch if we go there with our half tracks. Okay, pretty good. Now, the cornfields are cumulative, as well as we can see here. Oh, let's go to fire phase. I don't know that we're going to fire anything this turn. You can see +2 for the wheat fields there, corn or whatever these are, +5 because we're looking through a bunch of them there, but that's +6, which will affect them as well affect me. And I think I'm going to not shoot this turn. Got some of your own mortars, yeah. Found them to be low value as the Russians rarely go out in the open. Yeah, the Russians are using heavier mortars than we are. I think 81s, but I didn't look at the order of battle before going into this. We have just the 50mm mortars, which are very short range. As you can see, we can't even hit anything with them here. And these are entrenched, these are in forests, these and these are in buildings, these are in woods. So we're gonna, yeah, we're not gonna shoot. Okay, move phase. Now we're gonna move fairly quickly here, so we're not gonna assault move first turn. Try to get up through here to there. Yeah, but their mortars have much greater range, which is a significant. Okay, these guys can be seen from a bunch of locations. You know, not move you just yet. No. Just a warning, and I've looked, and I think there's what I'm going to call a bug. Vehicle noises don't seem to be able to be adjusted. So I'm going to try to do this as quickly as possible. Oh, they're gonna take that. Oh, maybe not. No damage. Wow, that was lucky. But that is as close as I want to go with that. I don't want to stack these. Hello, Hannibal Bonaparte. Would be nice to have combined enemy field of view. So you don't have to click every unit to see. Well, yeah, okay, yeah, oh, I see what you mean by just see what all the enemy can see. Now you can just obviously click like a particular hex, like this hex, and it'll highlight anything that can see that hex. But yeah, a combined enemy view would be good. Yeah, that's an idea. I may try to remember to mention that. But like I say, I didn't want to stack them because these are particularly vulnerable to the mortars. And I didn't want them to be in the same hex. Now they're all going to line up to shoot at that guy just to try to that would be in the way of that, so guess I'll get that done for the moment. Right, but this AA gun has fired. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so there it's shooting at me. Okay, target missed. Good. I want to see what. Okay, so we're getting near to where they can see, but it's still through a lot of wheat fields. Nope. So I moved a little too far forward for that. Yeah. Give him my front. Now I'm quite possibly able to spectacularly lose this. Okay. That's actually very good die roll for them. Okay, well that's it. Move for there. Got me out in the open. Now they're going to get their defensive fire. Now, often when playing these games for you guys, I like to talk about some of the leaders involved to give a little personality. But since we're looking at a very tactical game here today, I was going to examine the subject of some of the weapons being used here in this, and particularly comparing two of the same class. One being the PPSH-41, the other being the MP-44. The submachine guns that were most common on either side. What you will see with a lot of these is the squad leaders carrying both of them. And in some ways they're very similar, in some ways they have rather different philosophies. Okay, so that's going to be the first here. MP-44, no, MP-40, sorry. MP-40. The MP-44, or the Stimmgewehr 44, is a later weapon. If I said MP-44, I'm mistaken now. Yeah, MP-40. Which, and see, this is it. The PPD-40, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, but the PPD-40 was the sort of original Soviet submachine gun that was highly influenced from the Finnish ones. I forget the name, the Salmi. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's more, okay. They get their turn, command phase. We rally up there, good. See what they want to take shots at us with here. Mortars. Sort of glad they're shooting the mortars at the tanks because they're not likely to do anything. Any damage where here they're more likely to. From the Winter War, the Salmi, they made the PPD 40, and it was primarily a machine. Ooh. As Sergeant Z-Dog said, the dice are a cruel mistress here. And it used a lot of machining on it. And so it was sort of expensive to make. So the PPSH 41 next year, that really starts coming into play after the German invasion in manufacturing, is a mostly stamped weapon. And stampings are much cheaper and quicker to do. So otherwise, from a user's point of view, they're more or less the same weapon, the PPD and the PPSH All right. Okay, they get to move. They took no action. Right. Okay, well, we get our defensive fire. So now we've cut down the. Okay, and here we do have a choice of armor piercing, but since this is not really going to have any armor, I don't believe, we can also target the infantry with the high explosive. No. You want to fire these mortars one at a time, I think would be the best. Best. Okay, so yep, missed. Yep, unlucky. We're gonna pour in fire back here. You'll notice not shooting through that wheat or cornfield, so ooh, that missed just barely. Wow. He's basically just shooting his MP40 at the Soviet. None of these guys can shoot. Okay, so that's our defensive fire for their turn. And so it's looking at a weapon system that is set up to be a cheap and easy to manufacture in large elements. Okay, well, I don't think there's really any command operations I want to do here, so we'll just move forward to the fire phase. Well, this mortar gets a, oh good, a -1 because of the leadership elements when he's firing. This one won't. And misses. And just to see this guy over here, he can see all the way up through there, and that 37mm AA gun will really rip apart my half tracks. So I'm going to avoid moving that forward to the, we're going to probably double stack it to there. These guys we will go for, hopefully, eventually a have you ever seen so many sixes? Okay, so that, now we're gonna go to our movement phase here. These guys are gonna come down this way. What can see us here quite a bit, so we're not gonna move They're there now. Looking at me. You get to miss. Ever seen so many twos when the enemy gets to shoot at you? Oh, well, there's a good roll for us. Okay. Only when I roll, right? Okay, so they're a defensive fire, so units that haven't fired gets to now shoot at us. The mortars. So hoping they continue to shoot the mortars at the tanks. Hey, Beam Slam. Mamayev was also used in Swedish and Danish armies, and Home Guard, I suppose, I was supposed to have one issued, but unfortunately it was withdrawn just that moment, so I think G3 rifle around instead. Well, sorry to hear that. That sounds like a fun weapon to use, Beam Slam. I'm familiar with the G3 and the semi-auto form, but okay, so we've just been immobilized. And sometimes these tanks, these crews will abandon an immobilized tank very quickly. Yeah. So I just lost another tank. Okay, so we get to advance phase. So these guys are going to advance into here. These guys are going to advance into here. He's going to advance up to there. Click off of that. We don't need to keep. There you got it. Oh, you can't because he's facing the wrong way. I should have turned him. Damn. Okay. Should have turned him south. They can only advance straight ahead when it's a vehicle unit. I forgot that. Now, like I was saying, in some ways the MP40 is very similar in that it is also a stamped submachine gun. It starts out as the MP38, which was a rather machined submachine gun, meaning not stamped. Looking quickly here, because it's often mistakenly called the Schmeiser, but it's not. Who was the designer? Heinrich Vollmer was the designer. Heinrich Vollmer was the designer of the MP38 and MP40. And so it goes through its, production cost reductions. And miss. Wow. Oh, well, that didn't miss. Okay, so now we get to do our defensive fire. And although we are playing a, well, this isn't quite an open field game, but a, not in a built up building area, that much of the DLC covers. Submachine guns were a highly used weapon in the Stalingrad. That's sort of why I'm focusing on them here today. And so the MP40 is a simplified manufacturer version of the MP38, like I was saying. I know I sort of keep getting interrupted here. And it's basically one per squad, though later in the war many units get more. No. Well, pin somebody, gave him a little bit of casualties. Nice, finally. Ooh, pin. Well, there's two good rolls. Wow. So that is it for my defensive fire. Now they get their assault phase, which probably isn't going to do much. Okay, access turn. Bit of rallying, nice. Yeah. Okay, well, this is still in the command phase. Yeah, nothing else. Now, the big differences from the two guns. The action on the MP40 is a lot longer. So the submachine gun is actually fairly longer, but it does have a folding shoulder stock, which helps reduce the carrying link of it. We'll pin somebody and some casualty points. Nice. It was... No, the P30... Okay, your beam slam, no. I was saying the MP38, yes, that's what I was saying. Is a simplified production version. Now, the P38 pistol is a different beast. Different thing entirely. But yes, the MP38. Well, they're both designed by the same guy. Well, let's see. Well, we will put our mortar around there. And so like the PPD to the PPSH, both simplified versions. Finally a good took out its effectiveness there. I'm going to move forward is what my plans for you. Okay, now to movement phase. And so the MP40 is a pretty long we're going to do assault movement. So when they get shot at, and then they go down in the water. These guys here, yeah, we'll try to be right here and over it. They're shooting now, and missing, fortunately. Go. There we go. Now we'll have another machine gun firing on these guys. Yeah, I don't know that I can get here in 6 turns. But we're going to keep going ahead with this. Yeah, defensive fire. You get your turn. And missed one, no damage the other. That's why I don't want to stack too much. These gives immobilize too much of a concentration to that mortar round or mortar team here. Well, the dice may be improving for me. But not very much. Not enough. Now, does anybody, you know, there's a few people out there, know why the PPSH was in the caliber of 7.62 by 25, and compared to the 9mm of the MP40? Why the Russians went with that caliber? Yeah, stack too much, they're going to concentrate the mortars. Anybody have any thoughts on why they would go with that? Now, to talk to you about how the 7.62 Tokarev, the pistol caliber, which is what is called the 7.62 by 25, is a very fast-moving cartridge, though smaller. Less recoil? That's not a bad idea, because it has for its snake eyes for them, lovely. It's a much flatter round. It has less mass for the amount of powder behind it, so it's going faster, so it won't recoil as much. But recoil is not the reason they did it over a 9mm, because the 9mm comes from basically 9mm Luger, often called 9mm Parabellum, and it is a caliber that was scaled up from, I think it's technically 7.63 Luger or 7.62 Luger. They're virtually the same diameter. It just already standard. Why it was the round was created in the first place. Defensive fire phase. So we're going to put our fire on these guys, which will probably be doing nothing. Because yes, it was already standard, absolutely. But why did they standardize on to that caliber and not 9mm is, I guess, my point. Because it starts out as a pistol round. So, and thanks for following. WNC Survival, how you doing there today? So yes, already standard. Well, okay. The Russians standardized on 7.62, as you might notice. That's the same caliber as their rifle in diameter. The 7.62 by 54R was the standard rifle caliber. And why did they do the pistol in the same diameter, although different cartridge, including a different bullet? It's a different projectile. You don't just stick the same bullets in there. It's a lighter, smaller projectile than the rifle cartridge. And why did they make their AK-47s later in 7.62 by 39? Because there's a reason there too. Same reason. They had already standardized on 7.62 by 54R, and they wanted to make it so if you were going to make pistols, they wanted it to be in the same diameter caliber so that failed rifle barrels could be cut up and milled down to be turned into pistol barrels. So it was a Russian manufacturing economic savings, so that you can take, if you got a long rifle barrel and go, this fails inspection, it's just too poor. Okay, put it over in whatever bin, take it over there and have it chopped down, and then the outside's milled down to for the what I'm blanking on the name right here. The Mosin Nagant, no, not Mosin Nagant. Because that's the rifle. The Mosin revolver. And so they would do that. So that's why they went with the round they did. Where the Germans did not do that as a production savings situation. I just think that's a rather interesting tidbit there. Okay, we're yes. We're throwing everything at that building, and nothing is. Yes, high explosive rounds. Ah. And a bit of casualty points. Sounds like an odd reasoning. Guess how many barrels they actually cut down. I don't know. I don't know their failure rate because I don't know them. Well, Russian manufacturing, especially late 19th century, because that's when they were looking at it originally. Getting the Belgian Mosin revolver, and earlier the Mosin Nagant rifle. No, I mean Nagant. Oh, I'm butchering this. The Nagant revolver, the Mosin Nagant rifle. Sorry, the names are similar, and I'm concentrating this. Not just but also ease of resupply, one caliber of. Well, but you see, Mirror Man, the bullet projectile of the 7.62 Tokarev is a different bullet, and as well as if you're looking between the 7.62 by 54R versus the 7.62 by 39, those are different bullets themselves as well. The projectiles are different. So although they are the same diameter, they are different projectile, and it's virtually running it through the machinery, making pistol bullets or converting between the calibers isn't really that much. But it's each of those three are different bullets, as in production, and different cartridges, as in the bullets plus the brass and all that behind it. So there is no compatibility in the field as a supply situation. It is purely a manufacturing rifle barrels, because you're going to be manufacturing different projectiles. Okay. The axis turned now. Gotta go to the fire phase for us to be able to fire. Now, as it comes to World War II and the two weapons, finally, and the unit that I was less worried about is the one that is destroyed. Well, now we're getting good die rolls. Let's see if it holds. Oh yes. Well, yeah. And now here's another thing: is often, not always, but often the submachine gun ammo has more powder in it than your pistol ammo. So you can run the ammos in either one, but what will happen is if you run pistol ammo through a lot of submachine guns, you'll get jams because it's not enough recoil to operate the mechanism reliably. It's a softer loading. And if you run submachine gun ammo through pistols a lot, you will damage the pistols because it's too hot of a loading. So yeah, in this situation, you've got some pistol ammo and you're out of SMG ammo. Yeah, you'll use it, but you won't like to, or vice versa. Pinned and casualties, nice. So yeah, it's not as maybe a thing. Oh well, there we go, another great die roll. And not a great die roll. Now the Germans, they capture huge amounts of the PPSH 41s. Huge amounts. The same problem with British and American rifle at the end of the 20th. UK stuff eased up. You're used to rip up the barrel linings out of the US rifles. Yes, there are different loadings for the 5.56 ammunition as well. Understand, if you go back to a black powder brass type cartridge, generally speaking, you're fully filling that brass up with black powder. When you go to what we call smokeless powder, you're generally not filling it up. The British, particularly during World War II, would use cordite, which is a basically it comes in little sticks. It's sort of put together. Well, black powder is also, is a goo that is sort of dried out and crumbled and whatnot. But it comes out. Cordite comes out in sort of little cords and like thin little Play-Doh things, and then that dries. And they would normally put, I think it's 2 or somewhere between 2 and 4 sticks, I'm not sure right offhand, of cordite in the chambering there for the 303. And so it's mostly air. It's like 80-90% air with just a little bit of these sticks in. So obviously you could jam in more sticks, which would be a problem. The Americans generally use powders. Now, like for the 30-06 rifles, the M1 Garands, that they had rifle ammunition, but they also had armor-piercing ammunition that, had, I think the standard was back then was a black tip on it, painted on it, but maybe not that they would have a steel core in the bullet itself, but also they would load that much hotter, so it could run reliably through a Browning 1917 machine gun, or a Browning 1919 machine gun, or a Browning BAR rifle, but would likely jam up an M1 Garand if you tried to run it through it. So it was something that the heavier machine gun bolts could easily handle and deal with the recoil, but the rifles can't. So you can load these things differently. So everything we're talking about here is sort of relative and is subject to variation. That's why I say generally often when I'm saying, because this is not an absolute in what I'm talking about here. So the Germans capture, I think, in the tens of thousands of PPSHs. So much so that they rechamber a bunch of them into 9mm. Now, why do they do this? Well, I do know you can often see pictures. Nothing to move. They get their defensive fire. We have definitely stalled out here. We're going to keep going, but and boom, it's abandoned just because it's being warded. I think it's overly done. I can see abandon as close assault, but abandon just because you're being mortared. You're immobile. Good, they're sort of hiding down there. You can see all the modifiers up here to the die rolls. It's not a mystery. It's a mystery of why you're getting such bad die rolls, or at least why I'm getting such bad die rolls, but not with those die rolls what the final results are. And so they use a lot of them. Now, I think it's a twofold reason why. No, I'm not going to. Okay, here. We're going to move up. Move up. That's it. One, simply the lack of weapons. Germany is just suffering from a major lack of weapons of all types. That's part of the reason. Part of the reason is, I think a lot of German, and it's often the NCOs get them, like the PPSHs, approximately, again, it can vary, 71 rounds drum magazine. Well, which is sort of interesting because, yeah, they had the PPD, but the PPD and then changing over to the PPSH really didn't go through a war. But just about anybody who, any nation who tries using a drum magazine ends up abandoning them for stick magazines. And what has generally been found is that a drum magazine in a weapon is, or can be, it depends on the drum, very good to use. But they're terrible to carry. Oh good, you get to destroy, yay. And so carrying extra, because they're sort of bulky for the amount of bulky and heavy for the amount of rounds carried. Oh good. So because the PPSH 43 goes to stick mags only, and not okay, we have our defensive fire here. So it was such a good thing that I moved that half track up to get it killed. There's a decent die roll. Ah, perfect die roll here. Okay, well finally, a little too late probably, but finally getting some units worn down. That was decent. Okay, good. Fairly heavy casualties there. Somebody. No. Got to watch the time here.